Dan from Israel, and Marie-Therese. Nice to meet you here. Hi, welcome Gilles, Joyce, Therese. Welcome back. We are still waiting for a few participants, so I guess let's have another minute for them to arrive. Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Sophie. Familiar next gen faces are back with us. That's really wonderful. And with me tonight, Luc Breton, co-founder of the Next Gen Enterprise Summit, with Nassim, our support. It's Mimi Poisson and Dan Bernardini from the Next Gen team. And as far I have seen, there are some colleagues from Cola Spirit and Fabric, our partners, so that actually we can offer you these sessions for free. What I would like to know from you, from all the ones that are with us here, is we usually start with like, where are you greeting us from? So that's got a bit boring because it's every time the same question. Tonight, I'd like to know from you, what is your personal purpose? So, la raison d'être personnelle. So if you could send us 1 or 2 sentences in the chat that you find below, that would be super, a wonderful start into the topic, because the topic today is about purpose and how it can retain talent, with our guest Pierre Dubuc from Open Classroom. So to start, first of all, what is your personal purpose in the business world? Please write us 1 or 2 sentences in the chat. And we usually do some time boxing. I give us, for this exercise to start, 2 minutes time, so that everybody has the time to share. Another minute, so that everybody has the time to share. What is your purpose? We got some messages here. Thank you very much. Our time is over. And actually, I am welcoming Pierre Dubuc with us today. You are co-founder of Open Classroom. And my question to you, and now I'm just checking, did you write it as well in the chat? No, but you will share with us. So like, who are you and what is your personal purpose?
Hi, thank you. So my name is Pierre. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm one of the 2 co-founders and the CEO of Open Classrooms. And the purpose of Open Classrooms is to make education accessible. That's our mission. my personal purpose is to have a positive impact on the world. So through entrepreneurship. So that's what I'm trying to do through open classrooms today.
And let us know a bit. So open classroom now compared to us, you are a young entrepreneur and it has already started years ago. So how did it come? You said it's education for everybody. That was or that's the purpose of open classroom. But how did you get there?
Yeah, so open classrooms is trying to make education accessible, but especially professional education accessible, meaning education leading to jobs. So we train working adults, job seekers, and younger ones. But we started actually a while ago. So I'm right now I'm 32, but we started 20 years ago, like in 1999. So we was super young. My co-founder was 13 years old. I was 11 years old, and we were in middle school. And at this time, we started to create online courses to help some friends, the courses we wish we had at school. And we published them online for free. Just it was the easiest way to share those courses to our friends. And then from there, we started working on this part to our studies in middle school, high school, college for over 10 years as a hobby, and it became the reference platform to learn coding in French-speaking countries. And then by the end of our studies, we went into a more fast-growing entrepreneurial journey. And this is when Open Classrooms truly started as a company. But the project originated 20 years ago.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you have up to 300 employees now, today.
That's right. So we ended up creating open classrooms, making it a college, the first fully online college actually in France. And now we train about 2 million students a month in 140 countries. We've got 300 team members and 2,000 teachers. We call them mentors. There are industry practitioners coaching and tutoring students on a one-on-one basis every week.
That is perfect. And you said that you are with the purpose of open classroom, which is making education accessible. You're part of native purpose-driven organizations. How did this during the whole development? So since you were 11 years old in 1999, you have been working for this goal. And can you share with us, like, what was the result, or what happened during all this time like by having this strong purpose? You said you did a lot of volunteer work. It was free access to the online courses that you wish to have. Are there like attributes or things that happened during all this time?
Yeah, I think first, I mean, really the original idea was to just help people, and to build this altruistic platform, which we did for many, many years. Then it grew so big that towards the end of our studies, we already started to train about 100,000 people a month. And just to operate, we needed resources. So we had to pay for, hosting fees just to run the website itself. And we were super young. So at this time, we were probably like 16, 18. And we started to have to cover, monthly invoices of 2,000, 3,000 euros. And that's not insignificant for teenagers. So we started to try and find a way to build a business model just to literally foot the bill. So this is how it started. Then we realized that creating a company would bring us the resources so we could make this impact bigger. And this is when we start to define the mission and define it in a way like to write it down, even though the idea since 1999 was already there, but we started to define it in more precise ways. And the mission, the purpose is to make education accessible. Every word counts. Make education accessible. So we work quite significantly on this. The vision is to make professional education accessible. So it's a shorter term definition. And yeah, that's the original idea. And for us building a company on this basis is just allowing us to reach that goal and to get the financial resources, notably, to have an impact at a large scale. So the end goal is, the education, the accessibility of education, especially professional education. The end game is not I don't know, profits or the size of revenue, the size of the company, and that kind of stuff. Obviously, it helps if you're very profitable and you generate a lot of revenue. It will provide you the resources you need to make education more accessible. And behind the accessibility, the idea of accessibility, there's an idea of volume. Like you need to reach many people, and to reach many people, you need many resources. So that's how we came up with building a fast-growing company. Fast-growing because we want to reach a lot of people, and to reach a lot of people in our lifetime, we need to grow fast.
Mm-hmm. And this like, and do you feel, or do you see that there is a direct link between the strong purpose that you have and the possibility to grow fast?
Yes, I mean,
what is it that makes it possible that you can grow so fast? Do you make a link between having this short and precise mission and purpose that you formulated? Did that help you considerably?
And if I may, I would add to this question, Suzanne. Another one is, do you think there is a strong link between the purpose of Open Classrooms and the agility you have provided to your teams internally, and that the one is feeding the second and reverse?
Mm-hmm. I think, like I said, behind our mission to make education accessible, there is a notion of volume. So there is this notion of growth, to be big in some ways, not big in profits or revenue, but big in terms of impact. But obviously, to be big in terms of impact, I mean, you can be smarter than others, but at some point it's likely that you're going to need resources, you're going to need money, you're going to need people and teams, and so yes, the mission defines, and I would say requires us to be a fast-growing company. Then does it make the company be fast-growing itself? No. I mean, the fast-growing situation is created by the team. If the team is delivering on a growing market and delivering very well, yes, you can be fast-growing. But if the team is not delivering, or it's a slow-moving market, or then you're not. And then does the mission impact or speed of execution? Yes, it does. To know if your mission statement works, to have precise proofs of it working on a daily basis, you need to see the mission being used as a way to take decisions. So if your teams, without you in the room, are taking decisions like, okay, we've got this problem, we've got solution A and we've got solution B, we're going to pick solution A because it's more aligned to the mission, because it makes education more accessible. It's a proxy to take decisions in a faster way. So it creates boundaries of what you do and what you should not do. So normally it should be a way to take decisions to be sure you stay aligned and stay aligned to your true north, which is the purpose of the company. And everybody within the company should be able to link their actions and the decisions to the mission, to the vision, and to the principles. So if they're used on a daily basis in many meetings without you in the room, then it is working. If not, then probably it's just some weird statement on a wall that is not really alive.
So, and to have this alive, do you see what made it like? Is it because it was like from the beginning, from when you started the company, this was what drove you, that it became so strong, or is that something that you think you can make it up?
I think you can. I think you can make it up. I think it's really you don't have to start this way. Obviously, it helps if it's kind of natively purpose driven. But I think it boils down to the leadership as the leaders of the company, of the organization. Do you care about the mission? Do you care about the vision? Do you care about the principles? Do you embody them? Do you use them to take your own decisions? Do you use them to communicate internally and externally? Do you talk about them like all the time? All the time? Are your KPIs and your goals and your strategies aligned to this mission? Do you start from the mission and cascade down to your targets and your bonus plans? Is your bonus plan aligned to the mission? Is it aligned to your impact, your vision, et cetera, et cetera? If yes, then it doesn't really matter if it's new and the company was not created this way 50 years ago or 2 centuries ago, as long as today it is the case and the leadership, the management embodies it. And obviously you need to bring the team and the employees and the whole organization together around this notion of mission. So we, for example, the principles of our culture, we've got 4 principles. It's we care, we dare, we persist, we tell it as it is. We created them from the bottom up. So we made everybody participate to kind of brainstorm and to work on those. And then it means that they were all part of the definition, and it's easier to have, you know, a consensus and then a buy-in and then to make it alive.
So you're saying that you have done a bottom-up initiative as well to involve all the employees to come up with values that you are like daily living.
Yes.
I'm turning to all the participants today. We are not so many that we need to now do a breakout session, but I think that's a point where I would like to do a stop and ask you. So like in the organizations where you are. So we heard a lot about what Pierre is doing in Open Classroom with the collaborators. What were the initiatives that you have undertaken in your organizations to, like, if you are saying, yeah, we have a strong purpose, and to make it living, to whom can I give the word? What have you done? Jill, you just unmuted yourself. Do you have something to add to this? So I'm wondering, like, if somebody from the audience has an idea on, like, how do you make the purpose something alive? What did you do in your organizations? Is there somebody that has done that besides Pierre, that has a native purpose-driven organization since he was 11 years old?
Maybe I can share something
Yes,
from my
wonderful.
side. So
That's,
I belong to a very big organization because we are 22,000 in the world, and
wow.
I fully agree that yeah, what Pierre said makes a lot of sense because we need to really build up the purpose. If everybody is aligned to the mission, if everybody is easy to make decision without the managers or and implement the value all around the company, when you start to be a multinational company of 22,000 people, it's starting to be much more difficult. So at least we are working, I'm part of the leadership team of this company. So I'm working with my CEO and all the COMEX of the company in order to ensure that we align the same principle, whether you are in India, you are in Brazil, you are in the US or South Africa or in France. But having the sharing the same purpose and having the same vision is a bit difficult in our industry. So the idea is to work. So there are some top-down, let's say top-down vision or purpose, but this top-down purpose has to be work with the team in order to meet the bottom-up, vision, so that we adapt to the local market. Because the truth, I guess, in France is not exactly the same than in South Africa or in Brazil or in the US.
So that it makes it so that it becomes a living thing that you translate. What does it mean concretely in my location, in my team?
Correct.
What does it mean, imply? Thank you very much, Xavier, for sharing this. Yes, I agree. This is a big challenge in a big corporation. Is there somebody else who'd like to share? I know that we have some participants that have a lot of experience in this as well, to how to work on that. Is there somebody else?
Yeah, I think, can you hear me,
Hi,
Suzanne?
Joyce. Yes,
Hi.
perfect. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for me personally, I'm very data driven, and anything that's related to OKRs, Pierre mentioned it, but having those OKRs living, at company level or team level or even individual level, and having those OKRs kind of linked to the organizational purpose, I find that very helpful to have that, that evolution and being able to see how what I do affects positively, hopefully, the other teams and the rest of the organization.
Yeah, thank you. I know that the company you're working for is supporting that, even in a tool. Hola Spirit actually supports this for teams to have these OKRs set up. So that is an important thing. Yes, let's get back to you, Pierre. You are as well renowned, or one of the pioneers in France, actually, of this entreprise à mission. So what did this imply? So you to get this status, you said there are about 100 companies for the moment in France that have this legal status. Can you say a few words? Like, what did that do with you?
Yeah, sure. So the parent company is based in France. We've got also two subsidiaries, one in the UK and one in the US. The US subsidiary is also a public benefit corporation, which would be the equivalent of a mission-driven company, entreprise à mission in French. The entreprise à mission, the mission-driven company status in France really started like 2 years ago with a new bill of law called Loi Pacte. And to get there, so it's a legal statute. To get there, you need to define your purpose, what we call a raison d'être. So your mission, more or less, in your bylaws. So it's gonna be in your bylaws. Then you need to have build also what we call a mission committee, which is a body defined in your bylaws as well, with stakeholders, with the stakeholders of your model, and at least one employee. So there are stakeholders implying employees at the very least. In our model, stakeholders include students, teachers, mentors, employers, university partners, investors. So there are plenty of stakeholders actually in our model. So we've got this mission committee. Then you need to publish an impact report on your mission to demonstrate every year that you're making progress on your mission with precise KPIs. And then you need to be audited against your impact. So a company, like a consulting or a dating firm, will have to come and certify that your impact has been reported accurately, a bit like a financial audit, except it's on impact. So you need to do all of the above to be qualified as entreprise à mission in France. So it's quite strict, I would say. It's probably one of the most strict statuses in the world that I know of in terms of like public benefit corporations type of statuses. So this is what we've done. So we published an impact report. We created this mission committee. We declare it to like the legal authority so we can have the status. And indeed, there are only 100 companies with the status in France at this stage.
So what did this certification do with you? Like, do you feel that it has brought you something besides that you have now had to undergo all this certification process? What was the impact on Open Classroom? The fact that you decided to be certified?
Yeah, so first of all, there's no tax reasons to do it, just to make it clear. So there's no incentives around like you're gonna pay less or gain more in some ways. No, it's purely philosophical. So you can feel good about yourself if you're an entreprise à mission, but it doesn't bring any tax incentives of any sorts. We did have an economic impact, positive impact, because we think increased the quality of the brand. Mm-hmm. Notably, the first one is the employer's brand. So clearly, you can communicate on the fact that your company has a purpose, has a mission, is driven by values, and it's been recognized as such. So it's easier to recruit and retain talent. And this is really noticeable in the sense that, for example, last year compared to the year before, we more than doubled the number of applications to be hired by Open Classroom. So the employer's brand, that's a given. It will improve your employer brand. It will help your retention, your turnover rate as well. So that's one. Then there is also the commercial brand, because we started also having, for actually probably about 2 years now, clients, both in B2C and B2B, because we operate on both markets, saying clearly that they like to buy us products because they feel aligned to our mission and to our values. So it's not all, obviously, if your product is bad, probably you won't sell. But if your product is good, then it can be a good differentiator to be a mission-driven company with strong values. So we see it has an impact. It does have an impact on sales. So we see a positive economic impact for us, financial impact. It does cost a bit because you need to spend some time to, publish an impact report and to build this mission committee and to lead it and so on and so forth. But we think that the ROI has been extremely positive, and definitely when we started this officially like 2 or 3 years ago, I think we didn't expect actually such positive impacts. It was mostly driven by your own philosophy with Mathieu, my co-founder, and we just wanted to do it because we felt like the right thing to do, kind of. It was the spirit and the DNA we created the company, and we expected some positive outcomes, but I think it was actually beyond expectations in terms of the positive outcomes on brand, but also on just commercial.
So what we are actually coming to the topic of our session, that is under how leveraging your mission to tackle the talent challenge. And you said that you had like a double of applications. So if I understood it correctly, you have a lot of coders and talents, like in jobs or in new jobs that work for you because you do your courses online. Is that correct, Pierre?
Yes, that's correct. So we rescale and we upscale on tech and digital jobs, and also on business related jobs, like sales, HR, on education related jobs. So we cover 50 jobs in total. Then internally, we do have like developers and product managers and instructional designers and teachers and sales reps and those kind of jobs.
What are they saying? So how do you explain that having a strong purpose has this strong impact on retaining talents? How can you explain this?
How can I prove it, or how can I explain it?
What's happening? So what is the background maybe, and what are your people saying?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think probably at least 3/4 of the applications we receive to become an employee at Open Classrooms contain the word mission or purpose or impact or something like this. So the majority of applications contains some sense of purpose, and they apply at Open Classrooms because they want to join a company that is purpose-driven. It's becoming stronger and stronger, especially with COVID-19, because I think a lot of people had some time to reflect on, the purpose of their own lives and the purpose of their own work, and maybe decided that the work they have is not really what they truly want. And they feel maybe this political debates around the world on what is essential and what is not. Do we need to shut down libraries and bookshops, or do we need to shut down supermarkets and that kind of stuff? And actually, it's been reflected in the workplace. Is my job essential or not? Maybe it's not essential. Maybe it's just bullshit. We call them bullshit jobs. And then maybe at some point you realize that health jobs are essential. We think probably education jobs are essential, and there are many other essential jobs. Yeah. But there are also many other jobs that are not so essential, and I think people started to realize this and take actions and lead their lives into another direction. So we see that clearly, and we're probably seeing that from kind of an earlier adopter angle, but we clearly see that. And then when they're already hired and within Open Classrooms, I mean, we run monthly engagement surveys, and probably in half of our comments, it will resonate, around, again, the same words I mentioned: impact, purpose, mission. We're helping people. It's meaningful. We see how we change people's lives, basically. And that's important. And you see that in attrition rates and turnover rates, and in the fact that when people have another offer with 5% salary increase elsewhere, they stay. They stay because of the mission and because of the team as well. I think obviously we often say people come for the mission and stay for the team.
Yeah. So and that seems to be something that was another impact as well. So what I was wondering, like what you're witnessing is actually, like, studies have shown that at 2020, half of the workforce is actually people from generation Y and Z that are basically looking for purposeful jobs. And I myself had talked to one of the best economic schools in Switzerland, in St. Gallen, where they said that there are companies that have a strong purpose that fill now auditoriums when they recruit people, whereas McKinsey's and others, they have now troubles to fill their auditoriums, whereas before they were filled. And you are confirming that this is really happening and that the sanitary crisis has actually accelerated this for you.
Clearly, and I would add that it's not only with young people. It is especially true for young people. And as you say, graduates right now, they're in this like COVID desperate generation. They're graduates, they have master's degrees and they don't find jobs because there is no job right now. And even when they're offered jobs at McKinsey or some other big corporation, they don't want to go there because they know they're maybe hurting the planet, or maybe they could have more impact somewhere else. But it's not just younger generations. We see that more and more with older generations and people in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Many of them, made a lot of money, and we see many of them also coming to open classrooms and saying, actually, I made a lot of money, but now I realized that this is not what truly matters. And what I really want to achieve now is to be proud of my job when I talk to my kids. And I realize that what truly matters is my community, is people, is the planet, and I want to have an impact through my job. And those people, are starting to make those transitions and sometimes change dramatically their lifestyle, because maybe it involves a change in salary. And to be honest, I mean, at open classrooms we pay like above the market, to be honest, so people are really well paid. But still, I mean, obviously if you work in investment banking in New York, I mean, I will never match this, but some people will come anyway.
Yeah. Luc, you were raising your hand.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. I have two very concrete questions, Pierre. First one is, could you share with us what is your recruitment process and your tips? What is the good idea, the best practices you could share with us for recruitment? We have understood for loyalty of the people that is highly linked to the team. And the second question is, how did you manage to deploy agility or agility at scale within your organization, and what are the kind of framework or method you use to do that?
So good questions. The first one is the hiring process. It's structured. So first of all, you need to make sure you define precisely what you really want in terms of competencies, not in terms of profiles. Think about competencies, not degrees, not backgrounds, not experiences or whatsoever. You need competencies. So define those competencies, then write precisely what you expect and the key criteria you need to assess. So it has to be what we call a structured hiring process. There's a really good book on this. By the way, it's called The WHO Interview. WHO like WHO. So if you're curious, you can just Google that book and you'll find it easily. We assess on two axes. One is culture, mission alignment, principle alignment. And then the second axis is competencies. So that's easy. We have culture-related interviews, and we've got performance-related interviews. We have business cases for most recruitment processes. So rewrite a case study, and you have to, as a candidate, you have to work on this business case, and then we'll assess it. And what we do also is, well, a couple of years ago, we created and exposed a course on open classrooms that is called How Do We Work at Open Classrooms? So I'm going to link it on the right-hand side. This course explains in a very transparent and public way how open classrooms runs. So it defines the mission, the history, the principles, the organization, the way we work, the way we collaborate, the different teams, the business model, the product, like everything. It's quite comprehensive. We exposed this course very early in the hiring process, and it's also a way for us to assess the interest, the motivation, and also the alignment of the candidates with us. So this is something that really made the difference for us in terms of recruitment processes. It's great to increase our employer's brand. It works really well, but it's also a way to onboard people so they are ready earlier to get on board. So that's question one. Question two is, how do we make the organization agile? Super tough question. I wish I had kind of a silver bullet recipe for you, but it's not the case. But a couple of takeaways. One is you need to build the framework in which people can be empowered and take decisions on your behalf, on the management's behalf, and on the company's behalf. Meaning you need to define your mission, your vision, and your principles, because those are not words on a wall. There are ways to take decisions. I'm just doubling on this, but mission, vision, and principles are ways you decide. If it's not the case, it's just BS. If you decide based on your mission, your vision, and your principles, then not only you will be more aligned to and really walking the talk, and it's not just something that is vague and not alive, but it will make your organization more agile, because anybody could take that decision because they know how you could take the decision based on mission, vision, and principles. So it's really important. And we see that every day at Open Classrooms. So I see many emails a day saying, okay, we're going this way because we persist. We're going this way because this will make education more accessible. And it really resonates with people, and they see that on a daily basis. It's not perfect, it's never perfect, but at least they have the big principles to take decisions on a more operational basis. And yeah, I would say, generally speaking, objective setting is an important skill. If you define really well your objectives, your strategy, then you can empower people, you can delegate more, and you can set them for success. But it's really hard to do. And to be honest, most managers fail at doing that. Even top managers, like most managers I know, are really lousy at setting targets. It's really an art, and it's really hard. But if you do it successfully, then it will truly help with people's empowerment and delegation, and yeah, setting them for success. I think it's really important, managing teams, leading them. One thing I learned is basically the summary is, how could you set them for success? How do you define the strategy and then set them for success? And this is really hard to do.
So
Thank you, Pierre. Just a last question, Suzanne. Sorry, to finish on the ID, because we are on it. Do you have internal coaches to deploy agility, or some methods? Joyce was mentioning OKR, for example. Is it something you use, or an equivalent of that, or perhaps lean startup or self-management? I don't know which kind of framework or you adapt, and how do you deploy it if that's the case?
So we've got an onboarding program when you join the company that is like 100+ hours long, and it involves also learning how to work effectively in a team and kind of agile principles and that kind of stuff. In the engineering team, we work in squads, so something that would be close to Scrum, but it's like more technical, I would say. Generally speaking, we do not have agile coaches. We do have training on agile methodologies, generally speaking, and I think the team, the way we just all work together, is kind of like project-based, very agile, generally speaking. But no, we don't have agile coaches. I would say managers should be at some point those agile coaches, and we train them, so they are. And in terms of the performance management, yes, we do use OKR methodology. It's called SMART goals. So we define company goals, department goals, team goals, and individual goals. It's all on one big internal tool, and you can see the link from your personal goals into the team goals, into the department goals, into the company goals. And interestingly, the way we define the company goals are threefold. We've got 3 company goals for this year. We've got a commercial goal, we've got a mission goal, and the glue between the mission and the commercial goal is the team. So it's quite easy. We need to make money. We need to make an impact. And to do so, we need a functioning team.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And you were mentioning that you have this inclusive culture where you did bottom-up workshops when you were working on these principles. If I remember correctly, it is to care, to dare, to tell it as it is, and to we persist. Is that correct? So is this another factor that helps you sustainably, that you have this inclusive culture, that people are invited to speak up? So what else besides this mission committee and these workshops, like what is something that you do that shows your inclusive culture?
I mean, there are a gazillion things, but again, I think leadership should be a role model. So if you're not being inclusive in your work every day, in the way you lead meetings, in the way you hire, if your management team is not diverse, if the whole company is not diverse, if your clients are not diverse, if your product is not inclusive, then it's going to be hard to say, oh, we care about diversity and inclusiveness. So it starts from there. It's hard because there are so many angles to diversity. We're talking about gender rates and disabilities and then socioeconomic backgrounds and age and ethnicity, and it's very, very hard. But it starts, I think, with hiring and HR. So do you track diversity, D&I metrics like gender rates, salary gap, gender rate at the leadership level, ethnicity? Do you have people with disabilities? Do you have school dropouts? Do you only have like people from the same school in management? Then maybe it's a problem. It's not very diverse. Do you only have like white male folks on your exec committee? Probably a problem. So it's I think it's a gazillion thing.
Yeah.
And it shows in your team. Just take a picture of your team and you'll see if it's diverse. I mean, it's pretty easy to see. But I think it's also, every day. It's really every day. Like, do you care about everybody's opinion in a meeting? do you show this to others? Do you ask your managers to do the same? Do you tell when people don't behave this way? Do you say something, when you see a behavior that is not aligned? And it's not perfect, and sometimes I make mistakes, and sometimes I see a situation and I don't react, and I should have. But at least you're trying, and people will see that, and then the rest will also feel comfortable to do so as well, and to raise issues when they notice issues. And this is part of our principles. We tell it as it is, which is even if you're an intern, you can speak up, and you should speak up. It's your responsibility to speak up. And yeah, it's important, and it makes us improve.
So these principles are helping you really that for everybody, that they are like living up to them.
To behave.
They were very simple to care, to dare, to tell it as it is, and to persist. I think that everybody can remember that easily. So even myself, and I think that you're saying this. I would like to give the word to Gilles. You were asking a question in the chat. Gilles, would you like to ask that yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you very much, Pierre. Very, very interesting. Yeah, my question was on your mission committee. If I understood well, the mission committee is the Comité des parties prenantes in French.
Yes.
Yes. So, what is the objective you give them this year, or a subject? On what are you asking them to work? And I refer to Jean-Dominique Sénard when he was in charge of Michelin, who had his Comité des parties prenantes, in which he also had activists. He had the NGO WWF, and he gave every year some subjects for all of them to work and to deliver some recommendation or some new data for them.
Yeah. If I may, the next stage will be not to do that, to create a committee of what other companies call critical friends, but to make this committee a governing body.
Mm-hmm.
This is very different to have yet another advisory board of some sort with some experts that will meet a couple of hours a year and will provide recommendations that you might listen to or might not. A governing body is different in the sense that they shape the strategy, or they have an impact on the strategy in regard to the board, to the main board. I think we're getting there, and I think it makes a difference. But to your question, last year it was the first time we published an impact report. So the first target was to publish an impact report and to report publicly, basically on the impact, to define the KPIs, to track our impact, and to recommend a few key targets or strategies to improve the impact. So it's what I did. I linked also the impact report on the chat. Yeah. And in this report, you will see the definition of how we want to track KPIs, the 5 target populations of our beneficiaries, so our priorities in terms of populations we want to address, and then 4 recommendations in terms of how we can improve our impacts. And it shaped our strategy. It is not the strategy, it shaped the strategy. So the main board used this as an inspiration to shape the strategy. And I'm actually happy to say that out of the 4 targets that were recommended by the impact committee, the mission committee for the next 2 years, we already did like more than 3. So it's really taken into account. This year, we're asking them to be more precise on KPIs and targets on each of the 5 target populations. So how many job seekers do we want to have, and what's the breakdown between job seekers and refugees? Is it more important to target a refugee or a job seeker, or what's the balance between all of this? To talk about more about diversity and underserved populations, basically. And then in the long run, we will have also discussions on ethics around education, which is something that we will face in the next probably 1 to 2 years, I would say, because our model is becoming more and more automated, and it makes us be more scalable and be more efficient. But in some ways, we're shaping, for example, AI-based algorithm on admissions. We're shaping matching algorithm to pair you with a mentor, or to pair you with a job, or to pair you with a financial aid and some funding opportunity, basically. You can obviously see the ethical challenges that we're facing when it comes to that. So we have a limited number of financial aids or job opportunities or mentors or whatever. So how do you prioritize if you have several similar profiles? This is really tough. And there is no one answer, obviously, but you have somebody external, the partie prenante, basically trying to discuss and debate on this and to shape the boundaries of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and what we need to work more. And maybe in 1 year time, we will understand better the situation and we'll be able to be more precise. But right now, we don't really know, and nobody knows. I think it's quite important. So I think that's more over the long term.
Thank you very much for the answer. You were happy to listen to Pierre's answering. We're coming slowly but surely to an end of our hourly session already. And before we end it with what's the outlook of this purpose-driven organization, Open Classroom, I'd like to open if there is another question that somebody has for Pierre. And if there is so, you can just unmute yourself and freely ask it, or you can write it into the chat. Is there another question?
Hi, Sudan, this is Yossi. I'll be happy to ask a question.
Yes, Dan.
Hello from Tel Aviv.
Hi.
Hi, Yossi.
Hi, Pierre. Nice to meet you, and very nice story. And I connect to that because I manage a kind of innovation factory, just like an accelerator for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. And my question is, I've seen you working on B2C and then B2B. And usually to the startups, we always, we'll always say them that they need to choose. So my question is how do you feel with the fact that you have both B2C and B2B, and is there any market that is more important for open classrooms?
Yeah, I'll make it. It's a good question. I'll scare you, but we even have a third market, which is B2G. We sell to governments, and we sell to businesses, individuals, and governments. And the three segments are pretty big. And yes, it's been a key struggle for many years at Open Classrooms, and especially when we were much smaller. At first, we had B2C, then we started B2B, and then B2G. And we were always way too small to have the different segments. So it made us spread ourselves too thin. It was really hard to focus. It still is, to be honest. Many people advised us to just pick one up and stick with it. We thought in the long run, we would need the three segments. So we persisted. And at some point, I think we got lucky and started to be successful, not just on B2C. So at first on B2C, okay, it's kind of how the company started. Then we persisted on B2B, and at some point we started to be successful on B2B. It became the majority of the business. And then we started to persist on B2G, and we got lucky, and it started to show in the results and to be pretty big. And there are many synergies actually across the three segments. I'm not going to explain because I don't want to bore you into details, but it's very synergetic actually. It's very hard to replicate. I see only competitors, in B2C only, and they all want to go into B2B, and I'm like, good luck with that. Our competitors only in B2B, and they have no brand whatsoever in B2C, and they're like, we should go into B2C, and I'm like, good luck with that. So it's really hard. I would not advise startup companies to do the same as your advice. But clearly now we're in a position in which it became one of our strengths to have those multiple markets, and it makes the company more resilient as well. But so I'm kind of on the fence. I don't regret to have done this way, and I think, to be honest, I would do the same again against every advice.
Thank you very much for that answer. Yes, so we have come to the end of our hour, and I would here at this place thank you very much, Pierre. I feel like we could continue for at least half an hour. We had some people that had already to leave. And maybe as your last sentences, what is the outlook? What did purpose give you as an outlook? And with your last statement, we are launching some music to say goodbye to everybody. We are looking forward to seeing you soon on the Next Gen Net. Next week, Tuesday, is the next session. So Pierre, what is the outlook? What is the next step for that you're going towards?
For us, the next step is more the international developments, notably in Africa, in Asia, in North America. So we already started a couple of years ago. And the next step is also on new verticals and new fields of study. So we're thinking of, health jobs or energy jobs, or so other verticals.
So education for all. Wonderful. Thank you very much for being with us today. Wishing you all a wonderful evening, and see you soon.